is that there's been a lot of talk about the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood being the incitement. They're saying that Israel is, how do you say it when you kick someone out of the country? They're banishing hundreds of Palestinians, and for that reason, it's ethnic cleansing, and so their anger is justified. Of course, as usual, you blame people for what you yourself are doing. The actual truth, and I'd like to give you the facts, are Sheikh Jarrah. It's a neighborhood predominantly Palestinian, though there are a few Jews who live there. It's in the eastern section of Jerusalem, and it gets its name from Sheikh Jarrah was a physician of Saladin, the caliph, and he was buried in the 13th century in a tomb that's in that neighborhood. Okay, the real name of the neighborhood is the Shimon HaTzadik neighborhood. Shimon HaTzadik, Simon the Righteous. He was one of the last members of the Great Assembly after the Babylonian exile. He was a high priest. There's a famous story of him meeting with Alexander the Great when the Macedonian army was passing through Israel, and they wanted to destroy the Second Temple, and he convinced Alexander the Great to not destroy the Second Temple. Alexander the Great actually got down off his horse and bowed to him when he saw Simon the Just. And he was buried in that neighborhood. So one is before the destruction of the temple, and the other is this 13th century Muslim physician. Clearly, our claim to the neighborhood predates it. In 1876, the cave of Shimon HaTzadik and all the adjoining land around it was turned into a olive orchard. It was purchased by the Jews, by French Jews, and dozens of Jews built homes and lived on the property. As a matter of fact, there was a census in 1905, and there were 167 families, Muslim families, 97 Jewish families, so there was a Muslim majority, but not by much, and there were 6 Christian families in what was called the Shimon HaTzadik neighborhood. And then, that was in 1905. In 1948, the Jordanian Arab Legion conquered that section of Jerusalem, and the Arabs took over. It was recaptured less than 20 years later by Israel in the 1967 war. And they conquered that neighborhood, and it was incorporated into Israel. They annexed it. They made it part of Israel. And the descendants of the Jews who owned the land sued to get their family land back. They had documentation from the Ottoman Empire, okay, in 1972. And the court ruled that the documents were legal and binding and true and correct. And in 1982, the Supreme Court ruled in 1982 that, the land belongs to the Jews, but we're not going to kick you off. If you want to stay there, you have to pay rent. And what happened was in 1982, the Arabs decided not to pay rent. And they produced documents saying that during the Ottoman Empire, the land belonged to them and that the Jews were only renting it. And it was determined that those documents were falsified. So this has been a court case going on since 1972. And what happened was there was supposed to be a court decision on Monday that got delayed that was going to put a final stamp on the proceedings, which it was clear that the land belonged to the Jews and that the Palestinians were squatting on land they didn't own. And there's a couple reasons why they might do that. One is if you pay, they were not allowed to pay rent. Any Arab who sells land to a Jew, according to Palestinian law, he has to be put to death. It's a capital punishment. Arabs are not allowed to sell land to the Jews. So they would never admit selling it. The same as renting. Renting is admitting that oop, paying rent is admitting that the land belongs to Jews, and that would have opened the Arabs up who paid rent to be prosecuted by the Palestinian Authority, prosecuted for a capital offense. So that's why they refused to pay rent. Now, the lie that really irks me about this is that people are claiming, oh, Israel's ethnically cleansing Sheikh Jarrah. Israel is banishing the Arabs. No, they're evicting them. They could even stay in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. They could even stay in those properties if they paid rent. They're not being banished, they're being evicted. So the international pressure is trying to intervene in what is basically a landlord dispute. And even worse, the real lie. This is the real lie. Israel is being accused of ethnically cleansing Sheikh Jarrah. So, of course, the truth is precisely the opposite. Sheikh Jarrah is the Shimon Tzadik, that neighborhood is almost entirely, exclusively Muslim, Arab. And what they're saying is they do not want any Jews living there. The Palestinian Authority, when people claim there's an apartheid, there is. Arabs in Israel have full rights. They enjoy those full rights. They vote. They're the third biggest party in the Knesset. Arabs under the Palestinian Authority are not allowed to vote. They don't have elections. And Jews are not allowed into the Palestinian Authority. The only ethnic cleansing is ethnic cleansing of Jews. Jews, what the whole thing is, if you say, oh, Israel's wrong with Sheikh Jarrah, what you're saying is, oh, Jews should not be allowed to live in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Arabs can live anywhere they want in Israel. Jews may not. What are they going to do tomorrow? Tell me, oh, you can't live in New Jersey because you're a Jew. Haha, no way that's going to happen. Really? Where else can't I live? All these people were demanding that the Arabs not be evicted from Sheikh Jarrah. What they're actually saying is no. How dare the Jews think that they can live wherever they want? That's what they're saying. They're saying, no, Jews cannot go live in Sheikh Jarrah, even if they own the properties. How dare they think they can do that? They're Jews. And we've known that all over the world, there are places where Jews are permitted to live and the rest of the places where they're not. And that's what the world is trying to do, make us those ghetto Jews that were so easy to turn over to the Cossacks, so easy to turn over to the neighbors, so easy to persecute in the Inquisition because we knew where they lived. And we could tell them where to live. And I'm not going to do that. I'm an angry Jew with an M16. You are not going to tell me that I cannot live wherever I want. If I buy a house, I'm going to live in it. And that's the lie of this Sheikh Jarrah thing. And that's what made me so angry. And you will never see any media reporting it that way. I challenge you to find media that says, oh, they're evicting Arabs for not paying rent in Jewish-owned properties, and the Palestinian Authority does not want Jews to live under them. Gaza. Someone asked, how many Jews live in Gaza? Gaza is ethnically cleansed. There's less than 1% Christian. Why? Palestinians have no plurality. Zero. Christians love Bethlehem. Say goodbye to it. It's under the Palestinian Authority. Christians are horribly persecuted in Bethlehem, and they've been moving out. It is no longer a Christian majority city. And that's what happened in Gaza. The first step towards establishing a Palestinian political entity in Gaza was to destroy the homes of 10,000 Jews. Does that sound like the beginning of a serious ethnic cleansing? It does to me. The two-state solution, same thing. Oh, a Palestinian state. Oh, you mean a state that has been ethnically cleansed of Jews, where Jews are not permitted to live? Oh, the Arabs were saying last week, we want to protect the status quo on the Temple Mount. No, they don't. The status quo is, or was, that Jews can go up, Christians can go up, but only Muslims can pray. Of course, it's racist. But now they want the status quo to be that Jews cannot go up there. And that's what the violence is about. This is racist. The pro-Palestinian camp is 1000% racist, and I hate them for it. Racism is not in the Bible. Nations are in the Bible. Be proud of your nation. Your nation is special. Your nation serves God in its own unique way. That's not racist. So that is the truth of Sheikh Jarrah. Sheikh Jarrah is a demand that Jews not be allowed to live in houses, even if they own it. So if I keep going, I'm going to just blow up. So I'd like to leave it at that. I'd like to bless y'all. Book says, you bless me, I got to bless you back. I got no choice. And that would be a blessing straight from the Holy Land. So it's got to be worth a lot. Okay. So I'd like to thank you for joining us. Be blessed, y'all. And hopefully tomorrow we'll have much better news, and redemption will be here. Thanks so much, y'all.